Alright guys, playing 3 tables of 25, 50 cent, no limit on UB. I'm off to a good start so far. I've played for about 10 or 15 minutes before I got the video pulled up. My top 2 tables, I'd stacked some people so far, so that was pretty fun. My top right table, as you can see from the stats, is really good, and my top left table is pretty good as well. The games at this limit seem to be a mixture of just completely loose passive guys and weak tight semi-nitty tags. So what I'm going to be doing is playing a pretty loose aggressive game here and isolating the weaker players and playing a lot of pots and really trying to play a lot of pots in position especially. So hopefully things will keep going well for me, and I'm going to make this video, since it's my first video, a little shorter in length so I can get some commentary on everybody and see if I can't make some improvements or adjustments. I already got 5-6 suited in the top left table. That's going to be an open for me, and if the guy on my right would have limped, I'd have went ahead and raised anyway and isolated him. Alright, 3s are an open as well. I make all my opens are standard pot size, even if there's a limper or 2 or 3. I just go ahead and raise the pot. I usually don't raise too much more unless I'm raising from the blinds. I'm raising out of position, then I'll go ahead and raise a little more than pot and cut down on my opponent's implied odds. With 725 to me, the guy's got 10 left. I'm just not getting the implied odds I need here to draw out his stack, so I'm going to pitch it. But what I was saying about being out of position and raising, my raising range is obviously tighter out of position, therefore I raise it slightly more than pot, whereas when I'm in position I have a looser raising range, so pot or even slightly less than pot is sufficient. Alright, ace jack raised into the gun. I got 2 callers, and I'm just going to make my standard C bet here of like 3/4 pot, which is $4. See what happens. If this guy calls, I'm definitely going to be happy to play with stacks with him. If he floats as well, I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to play the turn. There's several ways I could go about playing it, but we'll see. Alright, well, since I turned the nuts, I don't think betting really gets me paid from any weaker hand, so I'm going to check and hopefully he bets a flush draw, and I'm going to move in on him if he bets. Maybe he has a 5 and I just sucked out on him, and he bet 4 and do a $9 pot, which is kind of a weakish bet, but I'm going to go ahead and just raise the pot here, showing that I want to play for stacks. And he turbo mucked, so I'm assuming he was floating me with like a mid pair, perhaps a flush draw. I think probably at this limit I don't see guys folding 5s there, so it was a good result for me. Alright, I got 2 limpers to me, 3-4 suited. I could raise here, but since the guys behind me look to be extremely loose, I don't think I'm going to be able to isolate anybody given the table dynamics. And you could actually make an argument for limping there as well, but I just go ahead and pitch it. I think that's going to be the best play. Alright, jack 7, just going to check it. Alright, so I river to jack. The question is, do I want to bet? I think I'm going to make a real smallish bet. I think the guy on my left here is going to pay me if he has any kind of pair. So I'm going to bet a little less than half the pot. Oh, wow. And hopefully I get paid by a 9 or a 5 or a weaker jack perhaps. I do think there is value in betting this river against this lineup. I got ace jack off again, open under the gun. Here's a spot where I'm just going to check it, and I think firing into multiple opponents here is just not good on this board. You really got to, when you're making c bets, you really got to watch the board texture. That is paramount, making c bets into a field of more than any pot that's not heads up, into a field of 3 or greater people. A board like that, it just really connects with their range, both of these guys' range. And there's so many cards, even if I do make a jack on the turn, I'm not really thrilled about it. I don't want to play a big pot, and especially since the guy on my left also has a deep stack. Heads up, almost all the time, I am firing a c-bet regardless of the board. However, when we start getting multi-way, I really watch my c-bets and board texture. If it comes down king, rag, no flush draw, I'll fire into 4 or 5 people, and I think that's correct because they're just really not likely. They can't make a lot of hands there. Whereas, a 10-8 deuce 2 club board, it's a pretty nasty board. It just hits their range really hard. So board texture essentially is paramount when you're deciding whether to c-bet or not. Alright, I'm going to raise it up here. This is a spot I talk about, raising just slightly more than pot. Well, actually, since the guy doesn't have a full stacks, I think pot is the best thing there. Alright, a flop top set. Pretty nasty board. I'm going to bet and happily play for stacks. Alright, that was really not the card I was looking for. Did not want that to roll off. But there's $12 in the pot. I really can't find a fold here. The question is, how do I want to play it? Do I want to check and see if he'll fire? Actually, I think I just got to go ahead and bet, and if he raises, just go with the hand, hope I fill up. And I do. Awesome. That worked out good, considering he flopped better hand than me. I'm actually surprised we didn't get it in on that flop. But that's the way it goes sometimes. You run into better hands, you suck out, and vice versa. But it always pays to be, always is nice at least to be on the better end of the coolers and cold decks. The reason I only got 3 tables up is I only started with $200 in my ultimate bet account, and I didn't want to pull up 4 tables and bust out my account mid-video, so I figured with 3 I would have a little room to work with, not too much though. When you got a real light raiser like this, we're playing 4-handed, you got a real loose raiser, kind of a guy, it's going to be floating pretty wide range here. I really like to make a lot of squeezes there. 9-5 off is just not a hand I'm looking to squeeze with, but give me 6-5 suited, just semi-playable hand, and I'm going to be 3-betting there pretty wide. Ace-2 suited here is a muck for me. All right, I got 9-10 off. I got one limper, tight small blind, big blind's fairly loose. I'm going to go ahead and raise this up and see if I can isolate him a little bit. Play some pots in position like I had originally intended. I get 2 callers, which I'm not thrilled about, but I got a decent flop for my hand. I'm going to make standard C-bet here. And take the pot down. That was a good result. Alright, I'm going to make a little squeeze play here with my 6s. With a really tight small blind, I like this a lot better than if he was, mega loose and have to call anything. But when you're making squeeze plays like that, really the biggest factor is the guy that's going to have the first opportunity to call. If he's real loose, you might as well just go ahead and just check in the big blind and not even attempt it. Because once he calls, it's going to set a chain effect, and everybody else is going to be thinking they're getting a better price, and it's going to call as well. If you can get him to fold, or if he's a tighter player, then you have a better chance of taking the pot down pre-flop. Alright, ace queen off to a race right there. No sense in limping with a hand that strong, and I got 2 loose guys on my right. This is the board texture I was talking about earlier, where let me just make a standard C-bet, where I would fire into a field of people. It's just not a lot of hands you're going to hit there. Well, 7-4 is not ideal. If it had been like 7-deuce, that would really be the ideal board to fire C-bet into multiple opponents. But 7-4 is not so bad. Hard to get led into here. I get middle pair and a straight draw. Not really sure what this guy's leads mean. So I'm just going to call and evaluate on the turn. If he fires again, I'm probably just going to have to give it up. He checks. Actually, I'm just going to check behind here. I don't think I'm ahead, but now the river rolls off. Question is, how much to bet here? He's probably scared of the king because guys at this limit don't really read hands well, so I'm not going to make a real large bet. I think a little over half pot. He folds pretty quickly. Yeah, he may have let into me with absolutely nothing there. It didn't even really hesitate on the fold. One thing I want to discuss too is protecting your stack and not your hand. I was talking to a friend of mine who plays $50 no limit. He calls me up and quizzes me about hands when he runs into a tough spot. But he was playing the other day, and there's 2 limpers, and he raised kings on the button, and the Big blind and both the limpers called. Ace 10 suited. I'm going to raise this up a bit. Wow, everyone called. Alright, see, this is a good board to make a C-bet on. Hydro leads into me for 12th. If the stacks are deeper, I'd probably go ahead and raise him up here. He tried to run a bluff on me earlier in a pretty nasty spot. And he's loose and aggressive, and I don't think he has much here, but given these stack sizes, I'm just going to pitch it. But anyways, back to what I was saying about protecting your stack and not your hand. My friend raises. Yep, he had, like I said, nothing there. Raises kings, big blind calls, and limpers call as well. Flop comes down 9, 8, 7. 2 spades, and he has the king of spades. Well, the big blind leads into the field for the pot. It's folded to him on the button, and he, naturally he thinks, drawy board. So I'm going to go ahead and raise my kings up, protect my hand. I don't want him drawing out on me. Well, the problem with that is, when the money goes in there, if you raise, make a pot size raise there, and the guy shoves, you're really going to commit yourself to the hand, because you're going to be getting like 3 to 1, and it's going to be almost impossible to fold getting 3 after you raise and he shoves. So you're going to be priced in. But the problem is, when you raise, and the money goes in on the flop, you're really either going to be slightly ahead or way, way behind. So raising there, it's a common mistake among newer players, and they try to protect their hand, they forget about protecting their stack. I think the far better line is you almost make an argument, depending on the big line, for even mucking the flop, but it's calling and evaluating the turn and seeing what comes off. He may bluff you a few times, or you may get bluffed in some spots, or you may get drawn out on, but you're not going to lose your stack. And if you consistently get money in on a board that nasty with just an overpair, it's not a good spot for you. I think you're going to be taking the worst of it for sure in the long run. Alright, all 3 of these hands are definitive raises. I wish my HUD would, so I could see this guy's stack size. Alright, he's got almost 200 big bet stacks, so I'm going to lead. And if he floats me in the turn bricks, we're going to have a interesting decision. Wow. This guy is super tight. And he is leading lead pot on really, not really a drawing board. There are a few draws. I'm not going to raise it up here. I'm going to call and see what happens. Guy behind me also calls. Wow. Alright. I'm assuming that the button has a draw. If he was real aggressive, the way he's played the hand, he's played it like a draw. If he was real aggressive, I'd probably check here and try to check raise all in. But since I don't really know him, I'm going to go ahead and fire 3/4 pot. And if the big blind moves in on me, I'm probably going to have to pitch the hand. I already check called the turn, which is really interesting. He's playing his hand like he's got 10s or jacks, which I don't think, given his stats, he would re-raise pre-flop. He has a boat. Why would he not go ahead and get it in on me, or get it in on the turn? I'm actually going to make a pretty thin value bet here, and it's close. Checking behind may be best there, because I don't know if he pays me enough time to make that profitable. But that's an interesting hand. I'll be interested to hear some comments on that one. If the river wouldn't have been an 8 of diamonds there, I would really like my bet. I think I still like it, but I would like it a lot better because I think I'm more apt to get paid by an overpair there. Backcracker says that he was on diamonds, which I kind of figured. Oh, I got one limper and then I got posted. I'm going to make a squeeze here. Just make a standard C bet. And I get, this guy wants to play for stacks and I don't have anything, so it's pretty much an insta-mock. Alright, I'm not really sure how long the video's been running, but when the blinds come around, I'm going to call it quits. Had a few interesting spots. That King's hand was the river decision's really close, I think. With a looser raiser, you can 3-bet there with ace-jack. Not with a guy that it's only raising 4% of his hand, so ace-jack is far, far behind the upper 4% of the hands. And apparently I get aces or kings every 25 hands on UB, so that is a good thing. Alright, I'm lead here with my aces for 3/4 pot, and if he raises me, I am definitely playing for stacks. And he does. The question is, how do I want to get all the money in? I could call and check raise the turn, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and repot him here. Well, wow, I run good. Oh wow, given his stats, I may not have 3-bet that flop. They weren't, they just popped up. But 17-0, and I'm assuming he's not playing many hands. That makes it for a very narrow range there on the flop. But live and learn. But that's it. Hope y'all enjoyed it, and looking forward to your responses.